Welcome to Navarero's online showcase video. Today we are back at the coal mine in Aurora Falls, and after the last episode I just thought to myself, well, that setup that I made on video kinda didn't really do much. So I went ahead and reworked the entire thing a bit just to be a bit more useful. Of course we're not gonna get too much use out of it, but hey, I just kind of needed to prove to myself that this area is actually quite good, and yeah, of course it is. Just need to do something better here. I think ideally you would want to have the first switch coming off somewhere around here to make the maximum out of your siding length. But in the end, what we have here is already quite nice. So we have 3 runaround sidings and 2 that are just having a stopper at the end. So if we just want to unload some cars and then keep them on the tracks here, we would just have to get the engine past them, pull them out of here, push them onto that, and that should be alright. Anyways, today we are going to take care of the cordwood situation. I prepared a few cars down in the valley, pretty close to the logging camp, and yeah, these are not connected yet. I just bought them and put them there. We are going to take the engine down because of course we're gonna need it. I'm not gonna start things with Montezuma again. I think we are in a different weight class now compared to that. And this also allows us to take a quick way down for once. After all, that's the most straightforward and direct connection to where we need to go. Curious if we're gonna make it in one piece, and yeah, that's us reaching the 10%er. You just see how much the needle of the speedometer shoots up. Yeah, this is spicy. I've done 10% before. I have at least one 10% line on my MIA playthrough, and I've done that with long trains, and you're just gonna... It's tough. On that, there's actually on the other side, there's an incline, so you kinda need to wait for the first few cars and the engine to hit the grade, and then you're just gonna start frantically pulling brakes. So it's quite the balance to not just pull too many brakes and get stuck up there, but also to not just have it run away from you, because if it really starts, I should have pulled the switch there. If it really starts just pulling away from you, getting faster and faster, you're not gonna keep up with the brakes, and you're just eventually gonna lose half the cars on the thing. Disassemble the entire train on that bit of grade there. So let's see, we should just be able to go backwards here and then run into the cars, push them all together, and then tie a few links down, and that should be it. I still need to load them up though, so that's gonna be a moment, but honestly, I've really grown to like my layout for the logging camp yard, and I'm considering to maybe even copy that over to that one logging camp of my other playthrough. So that would be for the yard that's closer to my main yard and everything, so not the one in the northeast. That section is gonna be untouched. But I never really liked having 2 identical yards on that map. And yeah, I have 2 logging camps on my MIA playthrough. So I was always looking for something that would be a bit more interesting. Maybe I could also try just copying over the yard from my from the sawmill over here. That might also be interesting and something that I would like to use in the future, but honestly, looking back at it, I right now have no clear idea how to even use that. It's such a weird design that I have no idea how I was supposed to do anything with it. Jeez. Or at least not without turning the engine around. I don't know if I maybe missed a step or something, but I had an idea. It made sense in my head and now it doesn't anymore. So who knows? Ah, dang it, must have missed one. Just gonna pull the brakes over here for a moment. Just getting them back together. And yeah, I could be using the automatic coupler, the knuckles, and that would be easier. But I still really dislike how they implemented that into the game, and so I'm not really a fan and not inclined to use them. And that should be it. Let's remove the brakes. And now we should be able to just run the train right into the yard, and actually we need to start going onto this side now. First time I'm loading cordwood on this playthrough. So first I'm using that side of the station for that matter. How are we looking for firewood? Good that I checked. And yeah, we seem to be missing a few cars. I noticed something in there. I think I may have tied one link to the wrong side, and yeah, that of course doesn't connect properly. At least I still have the switch for the smelter, so we don't really run into any problems with the cars just running away from me. If I went on this side, yeah, goodbye. See you at the sawmill or maybe the freight depot if I'm lucky. Oh, that might be a bit of a hard thing. Didn't break anything. It's coming closer again. Okay, got it. And yeah, now everything should be following, everything should be attached. So let's get going again. So the next part of the journey after the cordwood has been taken care of will be getting beams from the sawmill and the rails from the smelter. Should be easy enough, but I'll have to take care of the stake cars first, and I'm not entirely sure how I want to do that yet. I'm not entirely sure how much the engine can carry up there. So that's something that I need to figure out. Okay, I hope we go to the left lane. Yeah, that should be the correct one. I would really need to put down some signs here, so the incoming, the outgoing and all of that, or empty, loaded. If I go the wrong way, I'm actually just running into a stopper here. Okay, let's hold our horses for a moment. Detach the engine. And just let's get it turned around. I might actually, while I'm at it, yeah, no, we are definitely not in range of the cranes anymore, so gonna just turn the thing around and then get to loading. It's just 10 cars, shouldn't be too long anyways. How much money do I have left? 520, that's not a lot. Still need to buy another set of cars. I'm gonna have to look up how much meat it's gonna be transporting in one of those ventilated box cars. I might not need that many of them. Let's check real quick. Industries, facilities, cars. I wish they had this in some sort of sensible order. Southern Pacific stock car. Oh yeah, they're ventilated. 36. Okay, I think I don't need that many. 950, tier 5. Fun fact, I was actually a bit disappointed in the last episode because I wanted to actually take the long gondolas instead of the hoppers that I ended up taking. The gondolas would have been, I think, even a bit cheaper. More than twice the capacity, but the problem was that, well, they are tier 7, I'm only level 6, and yeah, the amount of XP I would need going to tier or level 7 to unlock them would have been a bit much. So I just had to go with regular old hoppers. I could have gone with the small high wall gondola things, the Greg cars, but I know from experience that as soon as you get too many of them, they become a plane, they just derail for no good reason, so the old ones are definitely more stable. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to implementing this entire layout on the other playthrough. I think that's gonna really improve things there. I'm also considering maybe finding another industry that I could do whatever I did at the sawmill with, but not entirely sure if that's a good idea. And yeah, I'm specifically talking about the loading area. The unloading one is just a single line, and that doesn't really matter too much. I could theoretically completely rework my entire setup at the smelter. That's a very similar industry to the sawmill in a few ways, but yeah, I don't know. That industry already needs to pull a few extra duties, so I don't know if it's a good idea just ripping everything out there. Another option that would be a bit better suited for a rework would be the ironworks, but that also has like a massive trumpet looking like yard, and I'm happy with that, so I don't wanna change that either. Anyways, that's another playthrough. I don't think this. It's just not gonna happen really. I could have maybe let this one run a bit faster. Just jumping through the roof to see a bit better, because why not? And that's the turnaround thing done. Done with that procedure. I should probably also just flip this switch so that we don't run back onto the turntable. That might be nice for safety reasons. Okay, but now let's get going. This is already taking way too long. I mean, it's a slow game, what do you expect? It's just gonna take a while for everything. Okay, that's looking pretty much perfect. I love the triple loading speed. I think that's just amazing quality of life. I kind of wish there was a way to make that look more realistic and not just one batch is being loaded on and free land on the car, but in the end of everything, it's still better to have it than not. The loading times were always a major turn off. And I know a few people who I showed this game to, and they were just like, yeah, that's kind of a deal breaker for the entire thing. Back when I started playing, I actually tried to get a few people into this game. By the time that we got to the free weekend, I tried to get a friend of mine to do a few sessions with me, but in the end, I already told him that this game is not in a good way and it's not really improving, so yeah, there was no real way of turning this into a longer term thing. Okay, so let's see. Anything else that I need to take care of? We have all the switches. I should maybe set the one down here. Car fully loaded. Oh no, you know what? I think what I'm gonna do to make this a bit easier on myself, since I have a turnaround loop here, I'm gonna come in here. Or you know what, maybe I'm even just going to go into the other side right away. I'm going to come in here, I'm going to turn the entire thing around, then come through here backwards, so that when I get to this point, I'm having the cars closer to the stopper. That should help with unloading. You know what? After all of this time, I may have finally found another viable way to deal with cordwood unloading. We're gonna have to find out about that though. I'm not entirely sure. I've basically done the same thing now for every single playthrough since I've figured it out on the very first one with the original Pine Valley industry layout. So I'm gonna have to see if this is actually a good idea. I think it has potential, but Jesus, no. The problem is what I have in mind right now is most likely gonna work with a train like this, where it's rather short. But once you get to something much longer, then you would need at least another siding there, and yeah, I don't know if at that point it's faster, if it's a good idea, or if it's just gonna break the entire thing. Just have cars jump off the track if you hit the stopper too hard. No idea. Another thing that I would really like to have in this game, and I know it wouldn't be too realistic, but it would definitely help out a lot. I would like to have some sort of door or gate or so that actually has collision with the cars, and that it can just be opened and closed with a single click. So like how I flick the switch from one state to another, we would be able to open and close the door. And the thing for that is that at certain yards I could just make a setup where I use this as a stopper. So I go to the gate, I close it so that it blocks the track. I then maybe open another gate, a car comes through, stops in the correct position to be loaded, and then I just open the gate again and it rolls on by into an area where I reconnect the train and everything. Do I still have a brake pulled? It feels like I'm just running through a brake here. Or is it just the cumulative weight of all the cars here? That might also be the case. Yeah, otherwise it would stop rolling rather quickly. Ah, come on. Gotta go a bit in reverse again. Let's hope that the brakes are not going to stop me from doing that. That may have been a bit too much, but no, it's... Dang it. This is why I usually switch over to having helper engines and disassembling the train, just so that something like this doesn't happen all that often. Then again, I've just gotten way too used to just flying around here instead of walking. They increased the walking speed a while ago, which makes everything a lot better, but flying still beats that, so that's what I usually do. Alright, brakes are loose. Just gonna helping out the crane a little bit. And we can already walk back to the engine and yeah, definitely gonna be loaded. So while I try to turn off all the notifications here, the alerts in the top left, some of them are useful. Can't really argue much about that. Still would like to have them turned off. And here we go again. So let's see, do I have everything set up the way I want to? Of course we're gonna go onto that track and then following it back to the smelter. That one instead, which is the most important one, and everything else is gonna happen from there. So that should be alright. Also with the setup that I'm going to be trying, I'll be entering the cordwood unloading area basically through the track that's going past past the iron drop-off platform. And that's usually not a good idea to do because after all, it happens rather often that maybe you are trying to unload the iron ore, maybe the other side is not completely full, but the iron drop-off might get full, and then you actually need to get some cordwood delivered in order to empty out the iron pile a bit and get the last few cars unloaded. So for reasons like that, I like to make it so that those things don't intersect with each other. Doesn't always work depending on where the industry is placed, but it should be alright. Okay, we are chugging along. 10 cars for this one isn't too much, thankfully. We might get a bit more speed out of it. Is this slightly gonna be too much? Yep, it's definitely falling back down. snowy area coming up, but I don't think we are going right into it. We are actually just gonna be running on the edge of the transition area, and then after this part over here, we are actually going on top of it. It's a funny thing with how this entire thing worked out. This is a constant 1% incline, same grade that I have for cordwood deliveries on my other playthrough. So I'm very familiar with what kind of loads the trains can do. 48 of those cars is actually gonna need a class 125 pretty much. Doesn't work with a single twin C. I tried. But I don't know how much more capacity the class 125 would have for additional cars. I'm still considering on that other playthrough maybe, this is kind of a spoiler because I'm going to talk about that in the future on the other video that I already made in the past. I'm considering to maybe add a few more cars, going from 48 to 72. I don't know if that's really in the cards there, but I would have to try. But yeah, going past the freight depot this time around on the other side compared to the mountain that we climbed last time. I mean, last time we kind of did everything. We went down this side with the hoppers, we went up the other side with the hoppers as well. But yeah, we are coming up to the switches already. With all of those trees, we can't even see the smelter itself yet. But that's technically where the yard is going to begin. Can't even see the bridge, it's just all covered up by trees. Weird low effect on the details and the letters over here. If I move stuff back here, I don't know. Might be a reflection from somewhere else. And here's our triple bridge. And I'm gonna be going into the turnaround loop over here. Afterwards, we're not taking the cordwood lines. It's kind of funny, last time we went through here from the other direction, we had the hoppers, which really had no business being on the cordwood side of things, and now that we are transporting the cordwood, we are using the other side as well. So really not doing how it's supposed to be done. But then again, in order to use it how it's supposed to be, we would need a class 48 for the unloading, and also some place to store our road engines in the meantime. Or road engine, not engines. Monty is just forever retired in the engine shed at this point. I don't think there's much of a reason to bring that back out. I hope I cleared this out, I'm not entirely sure. There are a few more trees coming up, and no, I think I better pull my brakes here. That does not look like it's been prepared. Oh, Jesus Christ. When I see a patch of trees, I usually try to go around or go through in a way that I don't need to remove that many of them. But in the end, with all of this, I just was more concerned with making the turn. Okay, it should be good now. Could have maybe included another switch over here and just go to the other side a bit more directly, but it's alright. Gonna do a bit of switching here. Let's just let it coast, get everything past the switch, and then we can go in reverse, go onto the other side, and then forward again. That's the thing about this game. Everything just takes a lot of time. But I would be lying if I didn't, if I said I didn't like some of the manual labor involved here. I kinda like that it's a very hands-on game. And while the loading can sometimes be annoying and sometimes even the unloading, it's also better in my eyes than just having the loaded cars spawn somewhere and you don't really own them or anything. I don't know. I've seen that similar games like Railroader where you can't even place your own track, but just have to use one that's pre-made for you based on a real version, so that's kind of cool in its own right. Over there you basically just take the cars loaded from one industry to the next one, leave them there, and they are going to unload over time, and then you're gonna come back and bring them over again. And I think they either load over time or they spawn in loaded if you go to a contract. I don't know. Different way of handling things, but if we didn't have a full loading and unloading to take care of, building the yard designs would be kinda boring. And of course it makes me even more curious about how Century of Steam is going to deal with that kind of stuff. They've shown a lot of good ideas already and good execution from what I could tell from the videos, but in the end it really comes down to what they do in terms of gameplay and how they make that work out. So with that game, while I don't think it's ever gonna be an objectively bad game from how they handle things, it could still be something that I wouldn't be enjoying myself depending on how they handle some of their gameplay ideas and what they focus on and whatnot. But I hope we'll find out at some point soonish. Hopefully still this year. And yeah, theoretically I could even do a rolling unload over here. I think that should be alright, but I'm gonna try the other thing that I wanted to see here. So we're gonna go past the switch with the entire train. Just like this, and then flip that over. Hit the brakes. Don't seem to do much right now. Okay, the thing is I don't want this to take 10 minutes, but I also don't want to just completely smash up the cars here. So I'm gonna have to be at least a little bit considerate and also maybe try to unload one car while it's approaching. No, it's definitely way too fast. Yeah, that's definitely not something that I can still unload while it's at the stopper. But yeah, we can now very comfortably unload these three. And if I slowly pull ahead, I should also be able to get that one. Then we're just gonna have to pull past the switch again, flip that over, unlink these and push them back onto the other track. That's just the whole thing that I want to try out here. Codwood being consumed like nothing. Curious how much of iron ore is gonna be left afterwards. I mean, yeah, 1/6 is already gone. But then again, we almost unloaded half of the train already, so that's quite alright. And should be getting a decent amount of stuff on the other side as well. I don't care about the iron ore. They even made that pay worse than what it was before. And that always needed a buff instead of a nerf. Okay, now just gonna be pushing those out of the way, getting onto the other track, and then rinse and repeat the entire process. Yeah, I feel like I would definitely need another engine for this that's a bit more punchy with its power output. This is all just going at snail pace, and I don't think it would be that good either. So I'm not entirely sure if this would be viable. Basically, if I was to keep doing this, I would need another siding over here for the fully loaded cars. Because of a long train, I can definitely only get a few of them at a time. And at that point, getting those, pulling them ahead, putting them onto this track, unloading, pulling ahead, then unlinking them, pushing them onto this track here, then possibly even pulling ahead again to get the next badge at some point. Eesh. That's not a good way of handling things. The other thing I could of course do would be just just building a bridge over the platform. That's gonna have to clear the iron pile, no matter how large that goes, and that would be it. Doable, but not really amazing. I should also hit the brakes if I can. That was spicy speeds for a bit. How do our funds look? 1k. I mean, I first have to supply the coal mine, which only needs stay cars, and I have quite a few of those. And if I then still need more in order to buy myself a few of those ventilated boxcars, and I don't think I'm gonna need many, then I can still do the cow deliveries beforehand, and that's gonna be alright. So nothing too crazy here. But yeah, I'm just gonna do the last few deliveries, maybe set up the stake cars already. I think that would otherwise take quite a lot of time. And once all of that is done, the next episode is likely gonna be the supply run for the coal mine. And from that point on, it should be just one more episode doing the supply run for or towards the meat packing plant. And after that, we should be pretty much done here. So yeah, we are definitely making progress. These things are taking as much as usual, but now I'm just taking you guys along for the ride. After all, the game runs well enough on this map to make that not too much of a problem. But I don't need to show you guys every single minute of what's happening here, because that's just gonna be very long and tedious after a while. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me for this video. Thanks for watching, thanks for coming along for this ride, and we are going to be finishing off Aurora Falls soon. So until then, have a good one. See you guys next time. Bye bye.